Afternoon, everybody. It's officially 12 o'clock, so I can say good afternoon. And welcome to another episode of Inspire SA. I'm your host, Narcis Mbuyu, and I have to say it's good to be back again. Today, we have a special episode from Fanie Someleze. They'll be showing us how to get through the ropes with SharePoint, and I'd love to invite them over to the show. Welcome, Someleze and Fanie. It's good to have you guys here again.
Thank you so much, Nassis. It's good to be back.
Awesome.
Hey,
Fanny,
hey,
you
hey,
there?
how are you?
You are good and you.
Very good, very good. Happy New Year to everyone here. It's very lekker now.
Happy New Year to you too.
And
Second episode of
congratulations
the
to
new
those of
year.
you for being gold. So today is the
Ah,
gold session, Goldie.
Yes, it seems
ah,
so.
Very good.
yes. But we can't stop working.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm. So, can you please tell us what you'll be doing for us today on the show?
Oh, okay. What we're going sorry for our screen or for the cameras. We are not in good spaces to share the face. The background is not the healthy one. So today what
Mhm.
we're going to do is we've been working a lot with Someleze on amazing project, and we discovered how SharePoint is so powerful, and then which is a lot of people are not seeing it. So we're trying to bring that energy to people to see, like, to show them how SharePoint is so important. So today we're just going to do an overview. It's going to be a short session.
No problem. It sounds very exciting. I've heard of SharePoint, but I haven't used it before, to be honest. So I'll be intrigued to see what's going to happen today. It's over to you
Definitely.
guys.
Perfect. So yeah, no, I will start just to ask Mr. Diko some few questions around SharePoint.
Yes.
Then after that, then the next thing that we're going to do is just to demonstrate how SharePoint look like. Then the other upcoming sessions we will focus now into specifically developing solutions using it. So, Mr. Diko, I know you are the expert of the sticks, so you'll be in good position to answer the SharePoint. What is SharePoint?
so what can I start as when I say
Yes.
SharePoint? But SharePoint mostly because in Power Thursdays we've been speaking about um, data sources, all of the different data sources that are offered by the Power Platform. So I can start from that perspective. In terms of SharePoint can be used as either a website where you can be able to show it to the external public, and also you can use SharePoint as a data source within the Power Platform. What does that mean? For a lot of people out there, they don't really know what a data source is, but they know what a database is. So SharePoint is similar to what you can actually use as a database to store your information. But the very, very nice and amazing part about SharePoint is that you can use it both as your back end, meaning you can use it as your database, and then you can use it as your front end, meaning you can use it as your interface where your users are going to be using SharePoint to capture data if they want to capture data, and then it will be instantly saved on SharePoint, and it will and that information or that data is going to be presented back to the user instantly instead of having a database like SQL Server in the background that is storing the information. Now you have to configure a new application that will display the information. With SharePoint, you can just capture the information and it will be displayed right in front of you. You don't have to do much, but also it's dependent on your imagination.
Awesome. No, cool stuff. We hear that you can use it as like your end user thing where your people can store your information there, or you can use it as a data source to supply various type of application. You might use your .NET applications, you might use your Power Apps, which is we will have those sessions where you see this amazing thing, how this SharePoint use it either as a data source or you can use it as like as an application where end user can start to interact with it. So then now you have covered, we hear that it's an end user. Now let's say now, man, do I need for me to be able to use SharePoint? Do I need to be a developer? Do I need to have deep knowledge around technology, or what should I do for me, or what should I learn, or do I need that experience of hardcore developer to start to use SharePoint?
So that's another fun part about SharePoint. Like I mentioned, it's all about it being connected to the Power Platform. I know I make this reference a lot, quite a lot. Yes, we can use it with with .NET and all of the other technologies that are out there. But if I mainly focus on the Power Platform, is that we know the Power Platform itself is for people who are not from an IT background, people who want to develop solutions within their departments, but they do not have the programming skills. So, similar, SharePoint allows you to create whatever requirements that you have within SharePoint or within your data source, whatever you want your data source to do. You do not need to have a specific IT knowledge or IT background or any programming knowledge. You just need to be able to have your basic skills in terms of, for an example, most people use Excel spreadsheets out there. So you would need to know all of those formulas that you would normally use on Excel if you want conditions for specific columns within SharePoint. And you say, if this value of this column is above 100, then this other value of that column needs to show a status saying that above budget or below budget, all of that. But that's how you can use it. You do not need a specific programming background. You can just, anyone, basically anyone who's who, can be able to create anything on SharePoint that they want.
This is amazing. This is amazing, really amazing. When people are talking no code, low code, SharePoint is that entry point for you. You don't need any background of IT. You can start to jump on it and then start to learn it as a source. Remember, us as developer hardcore, we talk about databases and there's alien languages that you have to understand, such as SQL, for you to be able to understand database, and you have to know how do you take even this database and connect it to your application. So like you needed hardcore, but SharePoint it make it much easier. Someleze indicated, he spoke about Power Apps, how now you don't need coding skills to create an app with a Power App. It means now when in the development where we use database, here you use the SharePoint as a data source that will feed your app data, and then that will be a data source even to store your data. So it means that revolution you already hear about, there's this rise of low code and no code, and SharePoint it can be an entry point for you to start to learn it, so that you can be into that wave where that people are get hired to develop apps without even having a knowledge of developing of like coding. So it's so amazing. Then again, yes, we talk about this SharePoint. Do I need to buy my own license? We know like softwares are so expensive. So for me now, here I am. Do I need to pay that 1,000 rand a month to buy a license? What's happening for me to start to use this SharePoint?
Okay, so in terms of the licensing around SharePoint, one thing to note is that it's part of the Office 365 apps that we'd have. So, for an example, let's say you're a student, you from any of the leading universities from the country or from around the world, and they have an Office 365 subscription. You are able to you are able to use SharePoint freely because you're a student, obviously, and you don't need a license for you. But in a case where you're a person who is just learning this on their own, not a student, do not have any Office 365 licensing, so that would mean for you, you would need to get this license for yourself. Or alternatively, if you just still want to play around instead of developing solutions for people, but you just want to play around, familiarize yourself before you can say, okay, I'm comfortable, I want to build apps now, you can open a developer account within the Microsoft Developer 365 program. So that specific account will provision the Office 365 apps or the Office 365 licensing, where you'll be able to access any Office apps from your Word, Excel access, and then you can go to SharePoint, and then you'll be able to start creating or playing around in that space. But if you want to create solutions that you will roll out to your clients, then that's the part where you would need to get an Office 365 license for yourself if you want to start build solutions, and then you're doing it for business, or your client would need to have that specific Office 365 license, and then you can build on their tenant.
So that's awesome. So what you mean is like I don't have to buy a separate license of SharePoint. It mean if I bought my Microsoft 365 or for C 365, it's already
Hmm.
incorporated with your Word, your Excel, your PowerPoint, so your Outlook. So it mean like if I buy that, I already have this amazing solution that do the magic, which they will see when the weeks or the upcoming sessions that we will do. So it means like now I have this, I'm a student or I'm already working for a company and I have
Mm.
Outlook, I have my account of Outlook or Office 365. It means by default, I can start to play around with SharePoint. And then
Yeah.
if now you don't have that 1,000 rand that you want to pay a year, you subscribe with me. Now you can subscribe into a developer account and you still going to get it. This is amazing.
Yes, that's how it is. That's the
Perfect.
most amazing work that you can have within the Office 365 stack, because you're able to, it's bigger than what most people are exposed to, which is Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Access. It's bigger. You When you get into the Office 365, you'd find your Power Automate there, you'd find your Power Apps, you'd find SharePoint as well. You'd find all of these different apps. As long as you bought that Office 365 license, you will get those apps.
And then you know the amazing things. Some people they will get you. I'm so depressed in my workplace. I've been doing this thing over and over. And as we're moving now into low code and no code, it means this is a space now that you need to start to tap into. The SharePoint, as I say, it's a solution itself. So you as an individual, you can start to pave your career towards that. You know, it's so easy. You don't need to do magic. You don't need to go to university to start to get all this degree. You can start to learn things like SharePoint, understand it, understand how they use it, and then there are divisions within your company or somewhere that can that use it and you can start to tap into a new thing. So this is so amazing. You know, you don't even need to go to university to start to learn this thing, and by learning it give you leverage, it give you an opportunity to start to shape your career, because once you
Yeah.
know it means like it will be easily now using things like your power platforms. So now, as you've been mentioning your power platforms. I want us to tell us now briefly, deeper. We just mentioned it that you can use this as source, the data source to feed or to connect it with a power platform. Now we want to just take us through this relationship of SharePoint and Power Platform. So we understand Power Platform is that low code or no code platform that you can create apps without even you knowing coding. Then how does SharePoint now come into that space?
Okay, so I know Nassis has been here for the longest time when it came to Power Thursdays. So on the sessions within Power Thursdays, that's where most people can see how we properly utilize SharePoint with the Power Platform. But just to explain a little bit in terms of the relationship between Power Platform and SharePoint, is that you have your SharePoint site. Obviously, within SharePoint, you'd have to create a SharePoint site, and then you'd have your Power Platform. a SharePoint list where you'd be able to store your information. Then when you go into Power Apps, for an example, it could be Power Apps, it could be Power Automate, or could be Power BI. When you get into those apps, they use these things called data connections or connectors within the Power Platform. So those allow you to be able to call some some form of API in a sense, but in a much more simpler manner. You have this connector that will be able to speak to SharePoint and pull the specific table or the specific list that you want and pull all of that information into your app. And that is how it works if you're using it with Power Apps and also if you're using it with Power Automate. So it varies from what kind of use case that you have for an app and what kind of use case you have for a specific task.
Awesome. So it's so amazing, and you are talking about something that you have experienced, something that you do daily, something that you master, and then one thing that you need you just to tell us about the
Yes,
project. What?
funny.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Fanny.
Yes, yes, yes. What I was saying was like now one project that you have done, exciting project where now you're using this SharePoint and what was the objectives and just give us that picture because some people are the people maybe who run their small businesses and they want to know to
So
say like
while I still wait for Fanny to bombard me again with more questions, I've been involved. What we can do to get in.
hello, hello.
Yes, Fanny.
Okay, yes, yes, yes. So you were saying like you were mentioning something.
Yes, no, we can carry on.
Okay,
There was
yes,
a
I
bit
was
of a
just trying
lag
to
on
say
my
like
side.
you were explaining around this, and then one example, just one use case as a real project that you had done, and then to showcase to say like now SharePoint is not something, it's something that you can even start to make money out of because these enterprises, these big organizations, they have problems and they don't have budgets to build to hire developers who will pay 50,000 a month. But you have people who are administrators who understand their processes and they can start to use this thing. So then one use case is that a project that you had done to just demonstrate that people can even start to jump into this thing. If you learn SharePoint, it means you give yourself opportunity to make money. But then just tell us about one project that you had done, just briefing us where you are using SharePoint.
Okay. At first, I was thinking, should I go on a demo and start showing a demo? But that's fine. I'll just explain. I'll just explain. So there is one project that we worked on from my university, DUT. Within the university, they had a specific department that catered for graphic designs. For an example, from your poster, DUT sends submit a some form of a form or an Excel spreadsheet to that specific department to get those requirements in terms of, oh, Narcis wants a logo and he wants this size, he has this picture. So they will try to put it in an Excel spreadsheet and then send the pictures on a different file as well. So we had a use case around that in terms of why don't we use the Power Platform alongside SharePoint? So SharePoint would play the role of storing the information of the requests that come from the DUT staff to that specific department. So SharePoint was where we just had that table or list that stored all of the information in terms of what kind of request that they have. Do they want a logo? Do they want a logo design or a posted design, or they want an A4 paper in general. And then the pictures of that specific thing. So we then proceeded to have the SharePoint list storing this information, but obviously when they store this information, when they store this information, it needs to come from some way. Previously, they were using an Excel spreadsheet to type down what they wanted on an Excel spreadsheet, and sometimes it caused errors. So now, with the power of SharePoint, Microsoft Forms, and Power Automate, we tried to automate that. So we had a Microsoft form where it will be facing to anyone who wants to actually request all of these services from that department, which is within DUT, not outside DUT, but within DUT. We had that where we have this form. It takes all of the information, whether they want a logo or whether they want a poster design. And then this form needs to send the data to SharePoint from Microsoft between that would write it on the SharePoint. Once they further buying this and then they also needed a similar case for this department where they needed to constantly update the DUT staff saying that okay, we have received your request. Now someone is working on it, so it's in progress. Now it has been completed, and then with all of those details. So that was happening all within SharePoint. So the people from that specific department would go onto SharePoint. When they're working on the logo design, for an example, they would update a field saying the status field for that item or for that request updated, say it's in progress. And then once they update it, there's a Power Automate flow in the background that is sending an email to the requester saying that, oh, okay, now someone is working on your item, so this is the details. This is when you can expect it. So that was the idea around it, where we had SharePoint as a centralized place where we store the information that is taken from the Microsoft form, and also where we used SharePoint to update the statuses of those requests. And then after that, once those requests are updated, obviously a notification needs to be sent to the people who are requesting that specific logo design or that poster. So, which is something I also thought for Inspire SA. I had mentioned before previously in one of the videos where we did, I think, invoicing Power Automate flow, and also we did a speakers Power Automate flow where people would request to come on the show using a Microsoft form, and then after that we take that data, we put it into SharePoint, and then Narcis would approve or reject that request, and then we'll send notifications to people. But that is how you can use SharePoint alongside the Power Platform in a project. Those are one of the use cases, and this is how you can use it within your small business, or you can use it to approach your small business and try to automate their repetitive processes using Power Automate and SharePoint.
That's quite exciting because that project, they were using a paper. They will send you, you will request a service, you write an email. Can I please design a logo for me? Then you send to that department in a paper, in a PDF. Then after that, then they will tell you, okay, we have received your thing. Please send us the specifics. So it was the email forth and forward. And then that that PDF form, they have to capture it into an Excel. So now the SharePoint was now that centralized. You just write that PDF form, you convert it into Microsoft form, you enter it once, it go into a SharePoint, it send the email. So by default, there is no longer now that back and forth of emails. Every time they
Mm,
update on the on the design studio side, it indicates to a customer to say that you are 50% done with your logo. And then at the end of the month, they will just pull a report instead of them now capturing the report. So it's one example. Even people, they can start to go there. The people who run small businesses, they can start to go into these small businesses and try to say, how do I automate your processes? Invoicing, one example, instead of them sending you an email, give them a form where they can type the information, and the invoicing it happen within 30 seconds, because once you submit that form, it will trigger the Power Automate that's going to send it straight to you, and it gives you the invoice. So it means even entrepreneurs, it gives them that opportunity. And the beauty is you are helping businesses to use whatever that they already have to the maximum. They already have this Microsoft license that they pay so much money every year, but they are not using it to the full potential. Then it's a matter of now, even now, these businesses help them to reskill their employees to use what such things such as SharePoint. And the amazing thing is most of businesses due to now cyber attacks, because if a developer create the thing, he won't create it, he will create it more using an internet APIs, public internet. So then this one you can use it in the private network, where now you convert it as a what, as the, how can I, as an intranet, because for you to use Microsoft or to log in into your Outlook, you have to use the organization email. So by default the security is already tied, where you don't need people externally to start to design that security. So it's so amazing. Thank you so much, Someleze. Then now you can just show the brief for how the SharePoint look like.
mm. While Somaleza is loading the screen, I just have to say, Fanny, you just answered my question about security. I was about to ask it, but like you read my mind and you just answered it exactly. It's pretty cool to have that because, like, I have to say, because instead of stressing about how my data gonna be secured and stuff like that, it's within your organization, it's within the people that you work with, so your data is already secure, and that's like an awesome thing about SharePoint, I have to say. So today, there's so much information going around. We're just gonna see a practical right now, and yeah, it's a pretty good session, I have to say. So what is it?
Just let me know when the screen is popping up on your end. Oh, there
Yeah,
it
is it
is.
there?
Oh, yes. I was worried. Okay, so basically, what you see on the screen is a SharePoint site called Digo Demos. Probably I love myself too much to make demos about me. But there's a SharePoint site called Digo Demos. Obviously, like I mentioned when I was trying to explain some stuff, is that for you to be able to fully utilize, let's say for an example, Narcis, Fanny, and I are within a specific organization, and in that organization, we are in a specific department, let's say the tech department. So, for us to be able to utilize SharePoint as our data source, where we want to do all of these different solutions or different requirements that we have, is that we'll have to create a SharePoint site specific for our department, the tech department, and then that site will be housing everything. So that's where you see Digo Demos is as a SharePoint site. So you see all of these different things. So another part which I mentioned earlier on was that you can use SharePoint both as a back end and a front end, a database and an interface. So what happens is on the screen you can customize all of this and change whatever you want by editing this page, where it will show you how to rearrange content within this page, remove, if you want to remove quick links, remove documents, remove all of this, and then you want to customize it in a much more nicer way. I know programmers like to actually make things look much more appealing and nice, so they would really love this, and graphic designers as well. So if you're a person who likes design, you can change all of this by clicking on that edit button at the top there. You edit it, and then it will allow you to edit all of these things. These things are called web parts within SharePoint. But the most important part within SharePoint is that you can create a SharePoint list. A SharePoint list is where we store the information, which what we're talking about just now. So if you click on the new button here, it will ask you the different options that you want to create. You want to create a list, a document library, a page, a space, a news post if you're using your SharePoint as a news space. So if you're in a department, marketing department, you can create a SharePoint site and then create a news post where you can keep people updated so that when you guys within your organization want to market something, you know what's in the know, you know what's new, you know what people are talking about. And you can put a news link, a plan, and an app. So the most important ones that are normally used is the SharePoint list and also the document library. The document library speaks more to people who are within administration and stuff, but it also speaks more to everyone who wants to manage their documents within SharePoint. So you have a document library that will store all of your documents within SharePoint. So a SharePoint list is something that I already have here. If I click on the testing list here, it will take me to a different page where it will show me my SharePoint list and its different columns. So what I want to also note is that we have spoken about this within the show on Power Thursdays. I think it's the first two sessions where we talked about what's a SharePoint list, how you navigate around the SharePoint list, but it's not in too deep. So what you can do within a SharePoint list, obviously, it is similar to your table. If you're not familiar with SQL Server or SQL, you can think of it as your Excel spreadsheet where you put your column names there on Excel, and then you format it as a table and it looks like a table. Same structure as this, but it's much more controlled, much more secureable than you can when you're using an Excel spreadsheet, because you could lose that Excel spreadsheet at any given point in time. So you can create different columns within SharePoint where if you want to store first names and last names of people, and then you can add a column, a number column if you want. So it's different types of columns. You want to add a column for currency, you want to add a column for an image. It depends on the requirement that you have for your specific need or your specific goal for that specific solution that you want to build. And then another thing to note within a SharePoint list or document library is that you have views. So the views control what a person can see or what you want to see. So for an example, in this case, I don't have more views, I just have one view, which is all items. So in a case where I would create a new view, take it as if now you want to make your SharePoint list or your SharePoint document library much more controlled, where I'm a person from administration. I only want to see people or the services. So if you see here, one of the columns says service requirement is logo design. So I only want to see services that have the status in progress. And then I only want to see that have services that have the status that is completed or that has the status as pending. So you'd have the different views showing up here where you'd have a view for pending, in progress, and completed, where you would be able to control, not seeing everything. Obviously, all items you'd be able to see all of the service requirements based on that scenario that I just gave a few minutes ago about what we did for one of the departments in DUT. If they want to see a an item or a request that has a status in progress, they will control it using SharePoint views. If they want to see all of them, they will use the all items view where they will see all of the items. But obviously, they don't want to do that, because if you see all items and you're receiving a lot of requests on a day-to-day basis, you only want to see the ones that are pending so that you can be able to action them quickly and then they can be completed. And then another thing about SharePoint lists is there's different things that you can do within SharePoint list. You can format this like I said, it's an interface. So you can format how this view looks like. For an example, if you want to change the shading to a different color, an orange or a blue, you can change it using view formatting. Or if you want to just shade the specific column with the names, you can use column formatting where it'll just become whatever color you want to use. And then obviously for you to be able to edit a request or an item. So let's say we back to that scenario for the department within DUT. They want to say now change the status of that service requirement to completed. That's when they will click on edit. And then when they click on edit, obviously they'd have to select that service they want to edit. When they click on edit, they'll be able to update the status. Here, change it to completed, change it to on hold, or change it to rejected. It will happen. And then when they click on save, once this is saved and the status is changed to completed, in the background there's that Power Automate flow that I spoke about that would then send the information or send the notification to the requester or the person who requested the service. And then if they would want to edit all of these items all at once, they can click on edit in grid view. So when you edit in grid view, you're able to edit this without having to open that form. You're able to edit the status of one item and move on to the next to edit this, and then you move on to the next. And then once you're done, you click on exit grid view, it will save your changes. So with the document library, there's different scenarios where you can use a requirement. So let's say, for an example, you want to see on the document library documents that are related to a specific service request. So now imagine you have all of these pictures that are, there would be pictures here, all of these pictures or PDF documents that have, this is, that have the kind of idea that people want on their logo. So they have this template that they want on their logo or on their poster. You have all of them here, but you don't know which one belongs to who. So that's where you can add a column here, and then that column would then be looking at an ID of the SharePoint list item that you're looking at. So for an example, if it's ID number one, it will only show documents from ID number one, and you can filter views if you want to. So if you want to filter a view, so if I go back here to the SharePoint list, that's much more better because we have data there. If you want to filter all of the items that are here and you only want to see items or requests that are requiring logo design, you just filter it and you click on apply. It'll only show those two items saying that, okay, these are the ones that were requested for logo design. Basically, like I said, it's a back end, also a front end, which is your data source or your database, and your interface. You can go crazy if you want to here, but it depends entirely up to you. So with the part where I spoke about the Power Platform, that's where you have to click on this. If you want to integrate the Power Platform with your SharePoint list, this is the second way of doing it, where you have the option to navigate to Power Apps, where you can click on create an app or see all apps for this. And then if you want to create a Power Automate flow for this specific SharePoint list, you can click on create flow. It will take you to Power Automate. If you want to create a Power BI dashboard for this list, you can click on Power BI and then it will take you to Power BI, and then you'll be able to create visualizations. So that's how SharePoint works and that's how SharePoint looks like. But obviously, again, like I said, we've had episodes before where those episodes were speaking about how to use SharePoint with Power Apps, how to use SharePoint with Power Automate, because we also had explained some triggers within Power Automate that listened to whenever an item is created in the SharePoint list, and then they will trigger that Power Automate flow. So that's how it is. And then we can dive into deep for following sessions where how to actually customize a SharePoint list to look a specific way that you require it to look like, which is not something that we set for today.
Thank you so much, Mr. Tiko. It was awesome. And now people, they saw like this wave. They said like by 2030 or 2025, the low code, the no code market will be equal to 25 billion US dollars, which mean what does it mean? It means people or companies will be willing to spend such amount of money to start to help into uh, uh, creating apps using things like your SharePoint. It means like that 25 billion US dollars. It simple mean that people have to be hired to
Yes.
design solutions. So it means like it's a big opportunity, the way where people will start to jump into. So I hope these sessions that inspired people. We lived up to our the brand of our name, inspired SA, but say inspire the world. So
Yes.
we hope that people will ride it wave. Businesses are investing heavily in no code, low code. It means it doesn't matter a receptionist and administrator. Go there and get those fat salaries. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Hmm.
Over
Wow.
to you.
I have to say that this has truly been very inspiring. I prefer hard code by myself. Like I just prefer writing the code, work with APIs. But now I'm just looking at this. I'm like, people have it easy. So easy to do things that we spend nights and months and hours over. You just do it in a click of a button. I'm
Yeah.
mind blown. I have to say. Um, I've learned a lot personally from this session. I've taken a lot. Some of my questions were answered as well. And there haven't been any questions on the chat, but other than that, I have to give a big shout out, a big thanks to both of you, Fanie and Someleze. It's not easy. It's not out there. These things that we're talking about, but with the help of this channel, with the help of this work that we're doing, everybody will be able to know about the power of SharePoint. And throughout every coming Saturday from today onwards, they'll get to see more hands-on demos, and I'm looking forward to it. Would you like to
Yes.
say anything before we conclude?
No, no. So on my site, I've already summarized. Go and get those. There's a wave. There's money. This money will keep on coming. So fill yourself with SharePoint and then other integration. You saw how easy you integrate these things and then get that money, man. It is there. We have highest unemployment in our country, and then while these businesses have so much problems, we have lack of skills into developers. There are a lot of jobs out there. Developers are
Mm,
needed, but then they can't get them because it takes time for you to be a hardcore dev. But then the alternative, it means things like your SharePoint, your Power Automate, your Power Platform things. So for me, it's about let's tap into that market. It's still developing. The money will keep on coming and coming. So don't cry there and say I don't have a job. Go out there and learn this and get certified. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's how it is. That's how it is.
true
Fanny
that.
said it all.
Totally agree with it. Awesome, awesome. Thanks again for coming. To end off the show, I'd just like to remind you, please please tell your friends, share the channel, and help us get more views because the more content, the more people know about our work, the more people will be inspired and educated to do more and to tap into this market as Fanny spoke about. Please don't forget to join us on Tuesday as we'll be continuing with AI Tuesday, and we'll be building our own translator using Azure. There's some awesome things to check out there as well, but please don't forget to tune in for that. As for today and today's show, that's the end. Be sure to see you again on Tuesday. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Bye.